Hello and welcome to our rebranded show. You may have seen some of those rebrands taking effect. It's called Back Button Radio. Now, my name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is Casey McGeorge. How are you, Casey?
How is it going, everybody?
Good. I made this crude logo of a joystick with an antenna type thing.
It works. It works.
It works. Yeah. I mean, there was another Pixel Pals out there, and didn't want any confusion, so we made the switch. Um, but yeah, so we're going to be talking, we're going to celebrate the 18-month anniversary, right? As some of the young couples say. We're going to celebrate 18 months of the new generation of games, PS5 and Xbox Series X. And we're going to talk about some sale numbers, maybe the exclusives that each console has, exclusives coming up, and also just something else I was going to say with the numbers. Sales of those exclusives, stuff like that, is what we'll be getting into. But first, Casey, have you had time to play any games lately? And if so, what have you been playing?
Uh, well, I'm not sure when the last time we chatted was. Uh, I had a week off. I didn't play much during that week. Instead, I went through the entire Marvel uh, library.
Yeah, I
That
think we had recorded like when you were finishing that up. I think you had just got done like Infinity War. Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Yeah, so I finished that. I did Spider Man. I got all the way up to No Way Home, so I finished that. I can't wait for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Even though I will give everyone a heads up, there are spoilers already out there on the internet.
Yep.
Um,
I
I
think
don't
I just got spoiled on one today. So yes, be vigilant.
I don't mind seeing them personally. I will not spoil it for anybody else of what I saw. I won't do any spoiling because that's not cool. But it opens this week. Be very careful with your social media usage because there's footage and various other things coming out already. Um, but other than that, I've done a little more GTA 5 for the next gen console.
Is that
Upgraded,
out on the
played.
next gen?
Yeah, it came out a couple months ago.
Just shows what
Um,
I know. What I know.
so well, you got it. You it's with it's a weird thing. So I actually have the disc version for the Xbox One and One X. And I think it was I think I paid $20 for the upgrade to get the Series X version,
Really?
and for GTA Online because it's a whole separate thing. And actually,
Right.
like I mean, I completely started over when I started playing that anyway. But the graphics are much better. I mean, it was already a great game. There's really not a ton of improvements you can do. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that's well beyond my realm of graphically and various other things, but I like the way it looks and uh, being able to get up to 60 frames per second on it. I know you have PS5. You can download GTA Online for free right now. I think it's there's definitely a weird thing going on with it where Sony got some exclusives for a little while. Um, yeah, GTA Online. It's already out for the next gen consoles. Let me see it for PS5. You can download just
Is it this GTA Plus thing that I see here?
no, that's something different.
Oh, it's a subscription. Okay.
Yeah, that's a subscription where if you are playing online, you can get like so much money to use it, so much in-game currency and various other things for every month, which apparently, I guess the heists and stuff aren't that bad, so you really won't. You really don't need it, but it is what it is.
It's very
Um,
odd. I cannot find the PS5 version on the store. I just searched GTA. They have all these on here, but it doesn't have when I
let
click
me see.
select edition, it's all PS4 edition. Isn't that weird? It's weird. Google. You can get it in GameStop and Target. It says for PS5.
Yeah, it went digital first, and then a physical release came out later.
March
Um,
15th. Okay.
you can transfer
PlayStation blog.
your stuff. Uh, Download from the PS5 console store. Offer available from March 15th until June 14th. You have one. If you do the upgrade, there's a one-time thing to migrate your GTA Online character and a previous save over. Um, After that, you won't be able to do it. But I
Maybe
mean,
I'm in.
I don't do
Going.
the
I was gonna
online
say maybe I'm doing something wrong here, but yeah, keep going.
I don't do the online stuff that often. I did it because I started over new, and they give you a bunch of money and some other stuff, so I took advantage of that. But honestly, just Cyberpunk and the upgrades for Cyberpunk and GTA 5. Um, I've been for whatever reason I've been wanting to get into Red Dead 2 again lately. And before I do, I'm debating if I want to start that one over or continue on where I'm at. And I'm not sure what I want to do.
Yeah, I just transferred some of my data from some of my PS4 games over to PS5, so I don't have to restart some of those. I guess I did not do that when I first booted it up. I think I talked about that last week when I was talking about how long it was taking for everything to load, so I just kind of wanted to jump right into it.
Yeah.
But so I finally got around to that. I've recently also started doing. I got Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga on PS5, so I've been playing a little bit of that. Got through Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones so far. And I'm not sure if I was playing this last time, but I've been playing Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, which is a melody rhythm game. Almost like Guitar Hero or something, but with Kingdom Hearts characters and Kingdom Hearts songs that you're listening to, stuff like that. So that's kind of been what I've been playing recently, and they just announced Kingdom Hearts 4, so I've been just wanting to go ahead through Melody of Memory because even in Kingdom Hearts, these spin-off games like a Melody game has actual cutscenes and things that takes place after Kingdom Hearts 3. So that's
See, I
what I'm
can
doing.
never get into any of the Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts games. I tried one of
I
the
can't
Final
do Final
Fantasy games once, and I just couldn't do it, and just been turned off ever since.
I can't do Final Fantasy. I majorly got into Kingdom Hearts because I was a kid and Disney characters
Yeah.
is how I kind of got into that. So we will jump into our 18th month celebration of the latest consoles. I'm looking at some sales numbers. Do you know which one has sold more at this point? If you want to guess.
Well, I have looked. The PS5 sold more
Yes.
total, but the last, I want to say for the quarter and for the month of March at least, possibly April, uh, the Xbox Series family of Series X and S has done better than the PS5. Um, I know within the last month, I've been able to see that you've actually been able to go in. Like, I've physically seen you can go into a store and pick up a Series S off the shelf and there was at least a couple of weeks there where the Series X was readily available online. Like it wasn't a situation where people were rushing and as soon as they were logging in and putting it in their cart, it was sold out. Like people were steadily able to get it online. Um, Rumor has it that Microsoft has paid a premium for some of their electronics parts and capacitors and resistors and various things to be able to get these. Once again, it's a rumor. I don't know. Um, can't blame them if that's what they want. If that's what they felt they had to do. For the longest time, both of these consoles were extremely hard to get a hold of. The PS5 is still having, I don't want to necessarily say production issues, but issues for people being able to pick them up still, I guess.
What's a Series X?
What's up?
How much is a Series X?
Same price as the PS5, $499, I think.
Okay, so this is definitely this Amazon listing is not a not a legit one, $700 some. But you can get a Series S on Amazon, no problem, officially $289. But yeah, Series X is not available on Amazon right now. And I'm just checking to see if I can find a PS5 on here real quick. Because, like you said, most of the time now, like it's been a little easier for some people to get these things, and no, I can't find a regular PS5 um, on Amazon anyway. But
I'm looking
they've been
at
lasting a little longer.
I'm looking at Best Buy, um, and yeah, you can pick up Series S. It says it's ready within 1 hour in store. Um, and then I'm looking at different things for uh, the Series X, and depending where you're at, you might be able to get it. Where I'm at in California, it doesn't have one within 100 miles or so, but it doesn't mean um, wherever you're located at might not be. Um, but I know for a while there was a couple of days where uh, Amazon had Series X's like readily available. Target was the same thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, so we have that going on right now with you can find a Series S. I don't know if many people recommend those because I don't think they're as powerful, right? So
Well, the biggest thing is it doesn't do 4K. It's an all
mm.
digital. It's an all digital machine. It
Oh, so you
doesn't do.
can't get.
It doesn't do 4K. Yeah, it doesn't play disc. It's all digital. And the hard drive is half the size. But as a lot of people are already starting to move towards not having physical media, I still prefer to have my discs. I know there's some people
Mm-hmm.
out there that don't. Um, and the fact that if you're using Game Pass, um, it for the price of what $299, like you really can't beat it. And if you're lucky enough to already have a PS5, um, you know, for me, I wanted the 4K and everything, but I think it only does up to 1440p. In all fairness, most people probably can't tell the difference that much, and depending on what you're playing on, you might not, you know, that might be the best thing for you. I mean, so it's one of those things where it's financially it might be the best thing for some people, and like I said, the fact is, you know, if if you're playing most of your stuff on say a PS5, um, then grabbing that for a couple $100 readily available where you can walk out the store with it might not be a bad issue.
Yeah. So there you go for that. I guess I'm still debating if I'm ever gonna get one because I have a PC, so I can play most of the releases on there. Um, Plus, right now I don't have the money for it, but just I don't even know if I have the space for it really right now. So I'm not sure what I would do if I was going to get one or not.
And apparently, it's the smallest Xbox console ever. It's incredibly tiny.
Mm. The S or both?
The S.
Okay.
The X looks like a little mini fridge, which is why they actually made the Xbox Series X actual mini fridge at Target sold for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know it sold out really quick, but I don't know if it's still out. Uh, excuse me. Yeah. Xbox Series X mini fridge. Now it doesn't look like it's available anymore on Target, but it was for a while. And I heard it was kind of loud. It wasn't that great. You can only fit like you can't fit much in it. You can fit like 6 energy drink cans in there and not much else. But
All right, but yeah, like you said, PS5 has sold more, but right now, this quarter and in March of 2020, um, this was the first month that the Microsoft Series X and Series S had outsold the PS5 disc and discless versions. Um, it
do you
was
have
the
the
best March that the company has had for Microsoft since 2011.
do you have the disc or the discless version of the PS5?
Disc. I'm like you. I need physical copies of stuff. So the way I usually go about it is if one, I didn't want to limit myself. Like, so my friend Logan has the discless version, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he can only buy games on the PS5 store, right, or buy digital codes on Amazon or whatever. I didn't want to limit myself. I want to be able to walk into a store, and if this game on Black Friday is like $10, I can get it, go home and play it. Now, what I'll also do though is as well is look for sales on the digital store, and if it's cheaper there, I might get a copy on there. But most of the time, I'm trying to keep myself to like when a game releases, all these people are preloading it like hours at a time. I'm driving to the store, I get it physically, I come home, open it up, put it in, download it. And part of it is because when I grew up in my parents' house, we had awful internet, so I didn't want to ever rely. Like if I was to do that, the game would take most of the day or two to download, right?
Yeah, or
So
you're preloading it all day while you're at work, and then hopefully by the time you get done with work or later that night, you can
right,
play. Um,
so
same
that's
thing
why
we
I started going physical, right?
same
Because
thing we talked
yeah,
about last episode where all the updates and everything that
yes,
you
yeah.
got to do it takes so long and frustrating.
So that's kind of I didn't want to limit myself. I want to be able to go to GameStop and if I find like a $5 game used copy, I want to be able to play it. I didn't want to have to worry about only being able to find it digitally, because sometimes those digital prices don't go down a lot. You know,
Or Walmart has a sale, but the PS5 store does not.
yeah. See,
Amazon puts it on sale, but that's it. Stuff like that.
I got Lego Star Wars digitally because it was cheaper. Well, it was mostly sold out, like in places I went for the deluxe edition that I wanted, and the deluxe edition is $10 more, but it comes with like the season pass for all of the character packs and stuff, which if I were to buy that separately would have cost me 15 extra dollars. So just to save the $5 and cuz I couldn't find it in many of my stores around, I was like I'm buying this digitally and just download it.
I did
But
my
usually I'm not that way.
I did my upgrade for GTA 5 digitally, and the only reason I did that was because mainly because the physical copy wasn't available for another month or so.
Yeah. Um I like getting the free games too that they hand out, every month. They actually for May it's going to be FIFA 22 is actually one of the free games, which It's interesting.
It
Um,
is, and I'm actually that is going to be the first FIFA game I have played
yeah.
uh since one of the World Cup games going back in the 90s. Like after
Jeez.
there was a World Cup game that came out maybe for the Super Nintendo or something after we had the World Cup here in 96 or 94 or whatever it was. That was the last FIFA game I played.
Wow. It's a long time.
But if I can get it for free, I will try it. And then I have no clue about any of the players or any of the teams. I will figure something out when it comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Play some Messi. Do you know Messi?
I,
Do you know
I know
Ronaldo?
I know Ronaldo. I know Messi. That's pretty much about it. Um, I don't know. I might stick with the MLS and pick a team from there, and I don't think I'll create a player just because I don't know enough about soccer. I'm not a soccer fan. I think the sport is kind of silly, but that's beside the point. Um,
Hey, over here in America, we have so many silly sports
well, not silly. I
like
look at it.
football.
We've talked about this before. The rules don't make sense to me because I look at it from an American football perspective. So because of that, I will admit my thoughts on it are tinted because of that. So I can
Hmm.
like
Best thing about it is no clock stoppage, 45 minutes, and then halftime, all commercials. It's uninterrupted action. Usually.
I don't know how you can say there's action when a score can be 1-0, but that's beside the point.
Same thing with baseball. Same thing with football. It could be a
I
3-0 field goal fest.
I will 100% agree with baseball. Football, maybe, but
There's
there's
usually a game or two in the NFL that's usually like a 3-0 or 6-3, and that's it's 2-1. Same thing. They just add more points on there and make it look like there's more scoring. Um, but yeah, that's one of the free games. And then there's two other games I haven't heard of, but some people are
one
really excited
one
about
of them
them.
is a PS5 game too, so I
Yeah,
may just claim that one just to claim it.
what I usually do.
Because this is also the last month before the new PS Plus comes into effect for us here in the States in June.
Yeah. Tribes of Midgard and Curse of the Dead Gods.
I think Curse of the which one is for
Tribes of
PS5?
Midgard are for PS5, and FIFA is also for PS5, and Curse of the Dead Gods is for PS4. If you have a PS4, though, you can claim PS4 copies of all of these. None of them are exclusively PS5. I don't know what any of these are about. Okay, Tribes of Midgard blend survival and ARPG genres into a colorful co-op. Hold on, this has 4 asterisks, which means it may not be. Online multiplayer requires PlayStation Plus membership. PS Plus is subject to a recurring subscription fee automatically taken. Okay, same. So, I mean, if you're getting the free game, you already have PS Plus. Or solo experience set within the universe of Norse mythology. You are returned to life by Odin himself, and you and your tribe of up to 10 players will need to defend the seed of Yggdrasil, if I said that right, from evil forces set to bring upon Ragnarok. Doesn't really explain too much what you do there. Curse of the Dead Gods is a skill based single player rogue like exploring an accursed temple, a seemingly infinite labyrinth of bottomless pits and deadly traps of monsters. I don't know. You can look up trailers of them. Um, I always recommend just claiming them, and if you're ever bored a day, just give them a try.
I've because one of the podcasts I listened to is Game Scoop did the same thing. Kind of they talked about them, and I guess some people have played them. None of them appeal to me. Is probably the best way to put it. So I'll definitely be claiming FIFA. Um, and it might be the only FIFA game I ever get unless I get really into it. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna mess with those. And then May 23rd or 25th is when PS5 the PS Plus stuff goes into effect for the Asian territories, and then we get it in June, and that's gonna be tricky to see what they do from there.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll be covering a lot of that stuff when it switches over. Um, so yeah, so going back to the sales numbers real quick. So what we have here, it says lifetime sale. This is this right? 18 million copies? Doesn't seem right.
For what?
I guess it is for the PS5.
Yeah, that's what I saw last.
18.9 million copies lifetime. It sold 4 million in 2020, 12 and a half in 2021, and is currently at 2 million this year. This is through April 16th, the numbers that I have. And the Series X and S, they're combined. They didn't have like a split number of these. Looks to be 14 million. And this year has sold 2.3 million. So 300,000 more than the PS5 in 2022 as it currently stands. The Nintendo Switch, by the way, is at 107 million copies.
I have a Switch. I don't play it often.
That's a lot of Switches out there.
It is, and I know Nintendo just does their own thing, and that's fine and dandy. But to me, they really need to upgrade that thing. The the OLED screen just wasn't enough to me.
Geez, they've
Um,
actually sold 4.9 million this year. Sorry to cut you off there. That's for a Switch.
uh, the OLED upgrade for me wasn't substantial enough, and as long as that thing has been out, um, it came out in 2017. Um, and I know they're not necessarily on the same console generation thing as Microsoft and Sony are, but still, like that thing to me, that thing needs a major overhaul and upgrade.
I'm fine with it. I love my Switch. For the type of games they make, I think it's, and I mean, it can run some impressive stuff, but I think what, a few more years we'll probably get a second Switch that'll be powerful more than just the OLED screen. But I don't know, like most of Nintendo's games, I don't feel like need super lot of power. Like Mario Odyssey looks really good on it, but I don't really know. I mean, it's I'm kind of glad they kind of went on their own thing, because when they were trying to just keep up with them, they were like, "Here's the Wii U," and then that was really bad, and they were like, "You know what? Let's just do our own thing," and they went with the Switch, and they're having like their best sales since the Wii, um, which is great. Now, I do hope they keep with the Switch, meaning that I want their next console to be able to be handheld and console at the same time. I don't want them to regress and go back to a home console exclusively, because then they'll have to come out with another handheld as well. So like they're able to consolidate like their 3DS and their Wii's into the Switch, and you get instead of making two consoles, you're making one console for everyone, and you're getting both of those player bases to buy into the same console. And this console is now more expensive than what the DS was originally, pretty much, but around the same price as what the Wii was at. Right, the Wii started probably around 300, I would say, and
Probably
came
I got
down
a Wii. I got a
significantly.
Wii a few years late. Um, just because I really wasn't digging the motion controls, and then I finally bit the bullet and got it. Played it for a couple months, and then it kind of sat there. I think I still have a Wii game here. Um,
I looked it up.
what
It was 250 at
the
launch.
Metroid Prime. I still have the Metroid Prime trilogy on Wii for whatever reason. I don't know why. Um, they need to bring that thing to the Switch. Like that. That would actually make me pick up my Switch again.
They're coming out with they just released the Nintendo Switch Sports, which is like Wii Sports. That just came out this week, I guess. So for anybody that really liked Wii Bowling, you can now play it on Switch with Switch Bowling on the Switch Sports. They have um like the sword fighting from Wii Sport Resort on there. They have volleyball, tennis. I think it's tennis. It looks like tennis. Yeah, badminton. Oh, they have badminton. So this is it has badminton, volleyball, and soccer. Yeah, and then they also have the sword fighting, bowling, and tennis. Oh, they do have tennis. There you go. Yeah, so that should be fun. It says they've added online support for that. Still really good motion stuff, and I'm glad they brought something back like that because with everybody who's bought the Switch and how it's like a big family console, being able to have something like Wii Sports again is a lot of fun. So yeah, sorry for the Switch derailment there. I was just amazed at how many
Oh no,
copies it sold. But
no. I mean, it's one of the top selling consoles of all time, and it's amazing that it still is selling like crazy. And the only time it ever really gets a price cut or anything is for Black Friday.
yeah,
Um, like that's it. The price of the console hasn't dropped otherwise since it came out, which is like I said, it's going on since 2017, so we're at 5 years now. It's still the same price as when it initially released, and it, I think the earliest we'd probably see an upgraded version is probably next year because they just released the OLED version last year. So, they're already looking at stuff for Black Friday for this year. So they're not going to want to cannibalize any sales that they could have for that. So, which I don't blame them. I mean, make your money, do your thing. But let's hope next year we can get an upgraded version of the console.
yeah. So we have, if I could just quickly go to the best selling game consoles of all time, still with PS2 over 155 million. Then you have the DS family, which I guess it's
The
is it
3DS,
just DS or
2DS,
3DS too? Yeah, I guess 3DS as well.
it's probably all of them mixed together.
Then Game Boy, then PS4, then Switch. Yeah, it's been 5 years of the Switch. PS4 was 9 years. It's at 116 million.
It's probably about to pass the PS4 here soon.
Yeah, it's got about 13 million to go. It could do that, no problem. And then we have PlayStation 1, then the Wii, then PS3. Wow, Xbox 360 is as high as the Xbox gets right now, 360 with 84 million.
The PS3 actually pushed past it in its last like year or two
Yeah, by 3
after
million. Yeah.
after the disaster it had launching. But
That's crazy. I didn't even think of that. So right now PS5 sits with what I say 17 million, something around there.
yeah,
Where did my chart go? Okay, it's up to 19, almost 19 million. Okay. So Wikipedia hasn't updated that on there. And then the Series XS is around
12 or
14.
13, somewhere in there. Okay.
So that's not bad for like, I mean, how quick is like that is 18 months, right? And they're already at 18 and 14
You got to figure,
million.
obviously, the pandemic is crunching a lot of that down because, especially for a while, as fast as they could make them, they're selling them. So, but just them not being able to manufacture and get the parts for them was hurting the sales. Not really hurting the sales, but their sales probably aren't where they were expecting them to be. But obviously, you can't really. Nobody anticipated the global pandemic in the first place, so
Yeah, if we didn't have the pandemic, we'd probably be at where you could just go into a store and get one. But they were always going to sell it really fast at launch. Like that was always going to be an issue. It was an issue with the PS4. It was an issue with all of them.
yeah, like the
But
first 6 months or
yeah,
so is probably going to be tough to get, which
but
is
at this
understandable.
point now, we would have been through that. But it still has created an issue with getting like computer parts. Like you mentioned. So that's kind of really put a. I guess they would. I guess they would have sold more by now if so, because I know people that haven't been able to get them still. I guess, but I wonder how much more they could have sold because I feel like a lot of times people are going to wait till they just get cheaper anyway.
Well, okay, so this can actually tie into my next topic anyway. I think it would have sold more because obviously they would have had parts, they would have had more to produce. Um, People wouldn't have been laid off for the economy, so they probably would have had more money in order to buy more, so on and so forth. Uh, I think that is also going to cause it. That's also causing. It's obviously also causing game delays because people still working from home and teams still can't get together, depending where they're at to make the games. Which 100% be safe, understandable. Not will never knock a game delay, um, especially after the whole Cyberpunk fiasco. We'll never knock a game delay if it's the right thing to do. Uh, but at the same time, take so there's Microsoft and Sony went two different ways with it, right? So with Microsoft, they had basically their stuff will play on any console except for a couple Series X things that are just Series X. And I forget what their upgrade path is, where basically you just put it in the machine, it'll tell you you're playing the best, it'll download the whatever you need to make the best version of it, and from there you go from there. Smart update, I think, is what it's called. I don't know where my brain's at. Sony went with a different path. Okay, fine. But then you get stuff like Horizon Forbidden West, which was originally supposed to be a PS5 exclusive. But now, between the fact that not everybody has a PS5 that they want to, and there's still 100 and some odd million PS4s out there, it's PS4 and PS5 as well. God of War Ragnarok, which I, along with so many people, are really looking forward to. Initially was going to be a PS5 exclusive. Once again, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. So it's now going to release on both platforms. Which, as I'm looking at this, usually most of the generations have lasted about 6 or 7 years. From the time between when one launches and the next one launches. We were just talking right before we started recording. This doesn't count the fact that there was a PS3 game that came out in 2020, right? Like, I don't even know why that happened. That shouldn't have
They
happened.
they
Somebody should be fired for
purposely
that.
released them. They like decided to port that game over to consoles that were discontinued, like because they also did it on Wii and Wii U for whatever reason. I guess just in case if anybody couldn't afford another one, they were able to have it. I guess I don't
I'm
know.
all for accessibility. Whoever made that decision should not have a job. That's a horrible decision. You're talking about like 12-year-old consoles at this point. But okay, uh, The 360 released in North America 2005, PlayStation 3 in 2006, PlayStation 4 in 2013, Xbox One in 2013, and then 2020. So you're looking at like a 6-7 year period between consoles. As we talked before, usually the first year there's stuff that, especially your bigger titles, your Madden, your FIFAs, your Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, you're gonna get them on both platforms, right? Bam, bam. Usually by that second year, a lot of stuff starts slowing down. You may still get some of the bigger ones on a second platform, but usually by year three, usually like your Madden, your FIFA, um, is more concentrated towards stuff on the newer platform, and rightfully so. Between the fact that it's usually more of them out there, they're not hard to get, blah blah blah. We're coming up on you. This holiday season will be year two. There's still production and manufacturing and issues of people acquiring these consoles, and you're still seeing stuff that's going back and forth, or being split along platforms between PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X. So typically, you probably look at like 2026, 2027 is when the next version of PlayStation and Microsoft will release their consoles. I'm thinking it may be like 2030. And this is just wild, horrible, probably wrong speculation on my part, but it usually takes a couple years for the developers to get a good grasp on what these consoles can do and the power that they're capable of from their last generation. So usually by the end of the console generation, you're seeing stuff on there that looks amazing, especially when you compare it to what came at the beginning of whatever that console generation was. And when you look at it on the next generation, there's not much. There's some, depending on the generation, but sometimes there's not much of a graphical difference just because, it's a transition time. But just because they're having to split so much between both generations, we may not see, like we counted. There's one, two, three, four. Hold on. One. No, that's not it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that are exclusive for the PS5 right now, that are available just on PS5. With it's not available on PS4. I'm not saying that's bad by any means. Once again, the world we're living in right now is really not much you can do about that. But as they talked about on some of the podcasts I listened to, at some point, I paid $1,000 between my Series X and my PS5. Right? I'm lucky I have both consoles. I get it.
And games are $70 now, right? So you're almost $100 a game at this rate.
I want something that's going to show me the power and capability of these consoles, that is going to push these consoles to a limit that's going to, not in a bad way, but it's going to make the developers work to get the best they can out of these consoles. And once again, not anybody's fault. We haven't had that yet. So we may not see a lot more exclusives until next year, and the year after, where stuff is going to be strictly for PS5 and the Series X and S. Sony had to backtrack very quickly on their comment of "we believe in generations," and their whole thought process of they were going to leave the PS4 behind. Rightfully so. They had to backtrack on that. They caught a little flack for those comments, especially after the pandemic hit, and they had to backtrack, but it was the right thing to do. But you may not even really be able to look at this console generation starting until like next year, simply because there's just nothing readily available for it.
Well, that and the fact that there's also like Unreal Engine 5 just came out. and that's going to give us the big boost in some of this technology. Like if you see what, like if you look at tech demos of what Unreal Engine 5 can do,
Yeah,
it
I
can
saw
do a
some
lot.
videos on the Superman and Spider-Man one that people
Yeah,
have made, and
somebody made a Superman one in they took the Matrix test demo
yeah.
that they did for Unreal Engine 5, took the city from that and made a custom like Superman-esque character, and it looked fantastic, by the way. So all the people that say you can't make a Superman game because he's overpowered are wrong. Creative people can do creative
Well,
things and
no,
can make fun stuff.
in all fairness, all they had in there was just him flying around.
I
So,
know. I mean, somebody out there can come up with a level design, some boss fights that can make it fun and interesting. You can do it with, smart people, creative people can do all sorts of things.
but in all fairness, as powerful as Superman is, unless these people are using like kryptonite type weapons, like, I think that's part of the issue is, your super villains are one thing, and Lex Luthor, who might have kryptonite, is one thing, or Batman, who has kryptonite from wherever, is one thing. But the average henchman that, Superman is stopping from robbing a bank, like, they can't really put up a fight with him. So,
Well, here you go. You just answered it, right? They have kryptonite weapons. Lex Luthor has found tons of kryptonite. He has a mine operation, and he's handing out these weapons for regular people to like to cause chaos in Metropolis, right? And Superman, so that's how you have a health bars, because all the weapons they're using are kryptonite infused, and it gives you a little bit of more challenge.
kind of
Go ahead.
reminds me of Homecoming, I guess, if you just swap Spider Man
Yeah,
and Superman. But,
with
and
the
I get what you're
alien
saying.
weapon.
There is a way, but like I can see their point of like, what do we do because the guy is so powerful? Like it's difficult to have interesting and engaging things that happened with him because just because some dude has a machine gun, like they really can't do anything. At least with Batman and the Arkham stuff, you know, Batman is very vulnerable to gunfire and knives and things. So it does make a difference. Spider Man the same thing. He's vulnerable in those aspects. Superman
But how
isn't.
are they going to
So
do a Wolverine game? He can heal and regenerate. He can't die. So I
that's
mean,
that's a question that a lot of people have asked too. Like, I don't know much about Wolverine in the comics. Was never a comic book fan. I just know he has adamantium claws, and that's really about it.
yeah.
Um,
But his power is healing. Um, that's his mutant power. That's why he can use the claws, is because it rips open his skin every time they come out, but heals and it doesn't hurt him.
it's got to be painful.
He's used to it, I guess.
So how did he
But
die in the last movie? Like that doesn't even make sense.
he I forget how they did it in Logan. I think he was just dying at that point, but I'm not really sure. But he lives for plenty of years. He doesn't really
Yeah, he was in
um
World War I or something, wasn't
yeah,
he? I don't know.
yeah. He's been around the whole thing. He like doesn't age for a bit because he's his healing factor and everything. So
It'll be interesting to see what they do with a Wolverine game because
mhm.
it could they could run into the same issues of he might be a bit overpowered, and how do they make combat interesting and engaging with someone like Wolverine?
I think you just depower him. So this is what I would do with Superman. You either do the like Lex Luthor is hired intergang and all these kryptonite weapons, or you depower him. The Superman animated show in the '90s when I was a kid, he was severely depowered. Where like if he got shot, it wouldn't hurt him. Like like it wouldn't like kill him, but it would still like have him recoil. And you can play around with that in the game and have that, you know, health bars and stuff like that. I don't know, but
You
somebody
lost
out
me
there
right there
smarter than
because,
me.
but for me at least, and for some people, I'm guessing, you would have lost us right there because of Superman. He's not supposed to be vulnerable. Like that's the whole object of
It's
Superman.
not vulnerable. He's not going to die. He's just recoiling. It's
He
not
shouldn't
just
recoil.
standing there.
He's
Well, he
Superman.
did
He
in the
shouldn't
cartoon,
be.
and everybody says that's a great portrayal of Superman. So if they're going to be hypocritical about it, they can be hypocritical about it. But, I think people, I don't know, I smarter people can figure it out than me. I'm sure. Um, Definitely. But yeah, we were talking about the exclusives. There hasn't been many for PS5. Has there been a lot for the Series X? Do you
No,
have that list?
no. I looked. I think Forza Horizon 5. Um, I'm not sure about Halo Infinite.
Well, that's on PC as well. So I guess it all depends on what we're considering. What we're considering, like like if PC is okay with it, but you can only get it on
Microsoft
the X or S, and you can't get it on the One. Maybe, I don't know.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. Um, but like I said, for them they've been more open about in general over the last many years about cross compatibility between generations, and their thing's been a bit different. Typically with most of them, if you had the disc, you could always just put it in the console and it would play. um, Unlike Sony, who went a different route, which fine, that's fine.
I'm sure they're kicking themselves. Honestly, I really think that they're if they could go back and make the PS3 not the cluster mess it was to develop games on and to actually have that kind of stuff, I'm sure they would do it because it just has been the part of theirs that has really been the thorn in their side. Anytime people ask about backwards compatibility, it's well, this PS3 was really developed awfully where we can't even emulate it right on some of this stuff. Like,
Metal Gear Solid 4.
was that an example?
Yeah, like that's one that's missing. I mean, you
Oh,
obviously got
right.
like The Last of Us that they were able to make a PS4 version of, stuff like that. Uncharted, they've been able to do, but I mean, maybe it's just Kojima too. But Metal Gear Solid 4, like, there's no, especially have so many cutscenes in that thing too. But
Do you know what the best-selling PS5 game is so far, according to Wikipedia here?
is it Elden Ring?
I have it as Spider-Man Miles Morales right now, 6.5 million.
I can
I don't know when
understand
this was
that
updated,
because it
but
was a
that's
good game, or the little I've played of it's good. Um, but I'd say that if you want to be technical, that could be incorrect. Because Astro's Playroom.
I don't think they see that as selling though, right? Like because it's installed on the console.
I would count it. That game has sold 18 million copies so far, or whatever it is PS5 has.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if they have that as a thing. It doesn't look like on like I just looked up Astro Playroom and they don't say like, oh, we have sold this many copies. It just says it's installed on there because they're not getting extra money from it. So I'm not sure if they're really seeing that as a sell. They're seeing it as like a hey, look what we can do, and it got a lot of buzz. I really hope a full game of it. I would really like a full. I know they did one for VR, um, but I want to see like a full like non VR Astros game because that was a lot of fun, and the platforming it had on it was a lot of fun, and he's a cute little guy. Like he could be a mascot of PlayStation if they wanted him to be. He could be a Mario. He was a lot of fun. The game worked really well with the controller. They if they already have that stuff built into it, they could easily make another game with those assets and just not have it take place in like, you know, the whole gimmick, right, is that that takes place inside the PS5 and you're unlocking all this other PlayStation stuff, but you can give Astro his own thing now, I think. And
I would love a full fledged Astros game, um, an Astros platforming game, and if they did it like, especially if they could do it like, what is it? Uh, they had another one where people were making levels for the game, and I can't remember the name of it.
like Mario Party, what was it? No, it was Super Mario Bros.
No, it was for it came out on the PS3, and I think they did it on the PS4.
Oh, okay.
Sackboy.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
you could, and then you could, do have some Sackboy type things where people can make their own levels and various things. That would be great.
I have Sackboy, the newest one. I haven't played it yet, but after we had my wife and I had a really good time with Astro, I was like, "Oh, this is a like Sackboy is a multiplayer PS5 game that I was like, oh, we could play that together maybe." We haven't gotten around to it yet, but I heard good things about it.
I've heard it's fun. I should have claimed it when
Oh,
it
was
was
it one of
free.
the titles?
It was free, but it was before I had a PS5, and
Uh,
I didn't know like you could claim it without having a PS5, so I didn't claim it. Same thing with Bug Snacks. I didn't claim it while it was
Bug
still free.
Snacks is so good.
Um, oh well, I got more than enough that I got to fiddle around with and play. But uh, so so what do you think will happen? Do you think this generation is going to be extended, like I was saying, or do you think in 26, 27, 28 we'll still see the next console coming out with maybe it'll be the same length of time but kind of a shortened generation because of our world being a dumpster fire right now?
I hope it's extended a bit. I mean, one, at a certain point, the market is going to dry up a bit, right? Like, what I mean by that is a newer console is going to be more expensive unless if they really want to eat some costs. Like they were really pushing with only selling these for 500 from what I've heard in some reports, right? Is that, you know, sometimes consoles are like a,
A
what's it
loss
called?
leader.
Loss leader, right?
Yeah.
So that way you're selling the games and you're getting money from the games and the controllers and stuff like that. But at a certain point, I feel like how much better can graphics get? I mean, I know they can get better, right? This doesn't even run as best as like a PC, but like some of these games look really good. At a certain point, it's going to get like uncanny valley type ways, I think. So it all depends on that. Like, how many more generations can you have of just these type of consoles before it gets like too real?
That's where the metaverse comes into play. Nah.
I don't even want to talk about buzzwords of metaverse.
But what I could see them doing is another mid-generation console, a
Like a pro.
PS5 Pro and Xbox Series X Plus or whatever. Um, I could see that happening, because by then things hopefully things will be easier to get, things will be cheaper, so you may end up with consoles that have like 2 terabytes of storage starting off with, or maybe a full terabyte in a PS5, instead of whatever they gave us to start off with, the 600 or 700 gigabytes that it came with. Um, you can do minor bumps to some of the processing power because they'll be able to figure out uh, how to work the power better and power consumption and cooling. Same thing, I had a PS4 Pro and I had a Xbox One X, last generation, which were great. So I could see him doing that for sure before you get the PS6 and whatever the Xbox Huckamabob will be for the next generation.
Yeah, I'm I'm not ready for a new gen yet. Like you texted me about the idea of doing this show with 18 months. I couldn't believe it was 18 months already, right? Because we haven't gotten to some of those games yet. We haven't gotten to that at all. And if we're talking 2026, 2028 of a new gen already, like you know how fast a year flies by. Like, uh,
I
I
mean,
feel like
if we follow
yeah,
the timeline, that's around when.
it's around when it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it's been like I said between like 6 to 8 years from the release of one console to the next. So uh, if we, like I said, if we follow the same timeline, it between 2026 and 2028 is when you would normally expect,
Mm-hmm.
the next versions to come out.
Yeah, I just hope not. I like let us sit with this one a bit. I feel like at some point we're gonna have a longer than usual generation. What was that like? Two Xbox three, no, PS2 and Xbox lasted a while. That was, I think, one that lasted a little longer than usual.
Let me see. PS. Let me see. PS2 came out in 2000. GameCube in '01. Xbox in '02. And the 360 in '05. PS3 in '06. And Wii in '06. No. So that was still about a 6 year period.
Jeez, one of them felt super long. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's something that, like I said, Unreal Engine 5 just came out. Developers got started working on it a little earlier, like late last year, early this year. Those games are not going to be coming out for 2.5 to 3 years. Games take a while to make now, and they also cost a lot more money now. So it uh, it'll be intriguing to see like how fast we actually get to some of these games, and then if they're plentiful enough to make it feel like, all right, it's time for the next console. Like I felt like after a while with my PS4, we definitely pushed this as far, and I've got a lot of great exclusives out of this. But obviously, right now I'm not there yet with the PS5.
Part of it is we haven't had a system seller for these consoles yet.
For me, the system seller was Miles Morales. Like once I knew that was coming on launch, I knew I had to get the PS5 on launch. That for me was the system seller. Um, for some people, it may not have been right. I mean, because it was also a PS4 game, not just on PS5. But I wanted to be able to play it at the most optimum specs, I guess. But it also took a while for them to confirm a PS4 listing, so I already had in my mind for the longest time that I was getting a PS5 for it. That I was like, screw it. If I'm getting a PS5, I'm gonna get this game. This was the first console I got on launch. Really, this was the first console I ever got on launch. So usually
Uh,
by the time I got to like, well, here's the thing too. I missed PS3. I had Xbox 360. So maybe my reality of the PS4 is a little warped because when I got the PS4, I was
you
able
would
to
skip the
play.
whole generation.
Yeah, I was able to play the Uncharted, right? Which I missed all three of those. I was able to play The Last of Us, which I'd missed on PS3. Um, so some of those games that were just PS3 exclusives and also got the PS4 remaster, I was able to play them on the PS4 remaster, and it felt like a whole new thing to me because I had never played it.
And you got them like cheap.
Yeah, Last of Us came with it. I got Last of Us and G with my PS4. Pretty good
And
bundle.
and they do their greatest hits things where it's like 20 or $30 and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd gotten the Uncharted collection when that came out. Those were great games. So
This
I got to play Heavy Rain. You know, like some of that stuff was like really kind of probably warped my whole perception though.
thoughts on how long the generation was? Yeah,
Yeah.
if you skipped it, yeah, I mean, I've had every generation, so from the 360 on, I've gotten at least one of them. I'll say within a launch window. Uh, I got back from Iraq and was got a 360 after I had gotten back. I came back in December. 360s were hard to find, so I was like, I picked one up then. Um, the PS3, it took because the PS3 was so expensive at first. It was
Mm-hmm.
$600 when it first came out. Um,
That's why I got the 360. But also, all of my friends had 360s. So if I want to play games with them, I had to get that,
yeah,
you know?
I finally got it when they started doing price cuts, um, and various things with the PS3. The Series X I got during launch window, or not Series X. I'm sorry, the Xbox One I got during launch window. I got it at Christmas time because I was working at Walmart at the time, and I don't know if they still do, but for a while they had a thing where if you worked when you worked on Black Friday, because you already got a 10% discount on everything you buy there,
Oh.
you got an extra. There was a coupon for an extra 15% off for working Black Friday. So I used that, and I think I got a TV. I got the Xbox One and a bunch of games. Like,
How would that work? Before you open, would you be able to set that stuff aside, or would you have to hope that it still
no,
had some?
you actually had to work first, and then you actually had to work, and then you didn't get the certificates for like another week or so because they had to make sure people actually worked and everything.
Oh, okay.
So like you weren't, and then when it came to Black Friday stuff, you weren't. Every store is different, and they probably shouldn't be, but you typically wouldn't have been able to put anything aside. So because otherwise, like some of the stuff would never be available to the customers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but and then I got the Series X first, and then the PS5 a couple months later. So I've always, I'd say within 6 months of launch, I've always been able to get a new console. And I got a couple buddies at work um, who've asked, and I'll be honest, I've told them all the way up until now, and including now, there's it if the stuff is hard to get, and I understand, and I know I'm lucky that I have both. There isn't anything right now that makes you say you have to have a PS5 or a Series X.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing out there where like I'm saying that I needed to play it. Obviously, there's a couple exclusives, but most of your major games are available on both consoles. The last Assassin's Creed that came out was available on both consoles. Your Maddens, your 2K, uh, like I said, Horizon and God of War for PS5. They're going to be available on PS4, and there's a lot of stuff for the Series X as well. So it's one of those because I had a couple guys who were like, "Man, I might have to bite the bullet and go on StockX or whatever and
No,
buy one of these." And I was
there's
telling
no
them,
reason to pay $1,000 right now.
I'm like, "Look, it's your money, but I said, like I told him, I know I'm lucky I have both. There's no reason to have to pay ridiculous amounts of money for either of these until you can walk into the store, until you can just not have to sit there and refresh the stock like every couple of minutes to see if you can buy it still. Like, there's no reason to stress yourself out over it. I did all that, and I have them. And honestly, I might go a week or so sometimes without playing them, mainly because I work a ton. But there's nothing that is like, oh, I have to get home and I have to play this, So it's just one of those things for me. It's a little weird where, like I said, I pay a lot of money for these. I want the power. Like, I want to see
Yeah.
what these things can do, and unfortunately, we're not able to right now. When we should start seeing glimpses of it, and it's a little frustrating. I know it's nobody's fault in particular, but
Yeah. We'll start to, I guess, wrap it up soon because I think we're pushing this topic as far as we can, but without going in circles. But I'll say I mostly agree with you. Like, if I'm lucky, I have a PS5, but we've seen so many games go in delays, which again is fine. So many of those games are also going to be available on other consoles that, like you said, if you're somebody looking for one of the um you know what's the name of when the scalpers, if you're looking for a scalper to sell you one for 700, 800, 900,000 dollars,
Don't do
there's
it.
no need right now. Just there's no need. We don't know when the first big, what, maybe the Spider-Man 2 game that comes out is probably a PS5 exclusive. That's probably a year and a half away.
At the earliest.
So until then, and I know it sounds like we're coming from a place of privilege because we own these things, but you know, if you're just worried about like fear of missing out, there's nothing really. There's no FOMO here. There's not a lot of games right now that are exclusive to that. Now, if you're a big Ratchet and Clank fan, of course that game is only on PS5. If you're, you know, going for a game that is one of those like 5 or 6 exclusives, then obviously yes, you're going to want that. But I still don't know if I'd recommend going to a scalper. I got mine luckily for launch through Amazon for a regular price, and if it was going to be higher than that, there's no way I could have afforded that, and there's no way I would have been able to do that because there's just no games for it. Those games will still be there when you eventually do get it. As I mean, I've mostly been playing my Switch more than I play my PS5 right now because right now there's just not the games there. I'm starting to get back into my PS5 playing though. Like I mentioned at the top of the show.
So speaking of your PS5, have you seen the news about Sony requiring trials for PlayStation Plus, the new PlayStation Plus that's coming up?
What are your trials?
So apparently, Sony is mandating that for games that cost over $35, um, games will have to have a 2 hour trial. Or they can make a demo available for the game. And that's going to be for the highest level of the new PS Plus that's coming out when it comes out in June for us. I can see some pros to this, but to me, I also see. I can think of a couple games where I've played where it didn't really get going until 2 or so hours in. And I can think of games that are made from Hideo Kojima, or I can think of when I played one of the Devil May Cries. There were so many cutscenes and videos and everything in the first few hours that there might have only been like 20 or 30 minutes of actual gameplay
Jeez.
that like I was able to actually play in that time. Like if I think Metal Gear Solid 5, great game. Eventually ended up loving it. I actually stopped playing that game for about 3 or 4 months the first time I played it because you make this character and then part of it is you have to go through this hospital that's being attacked and you're crawling and it's this very slow build. And when I say slow, I mean extremely slow. And Hideo Kojima is very deliberate with a lot of the stuff he does. And I want to say that's like the first hour or so is you trying to get through this hospital with trying to move and hide and literally at one point I gave up on it. I stopped playing and took it out of my Xbox and put it away. Didn't play it for several months until I started seeing a bunch of reviews again that said how great the game was, and a lot of it started talking about you have to get past this first like hour or so before you start to enjoy the game. So I suffered through it, and it was worth it. But like I said, I want to say I played a Devil May Cry, and literally the first hour, I think it was like 30, 40 minutes of cutscenes
Jeez.
for one of them, and it was just I get it, The you can do a lot of stuff with games nowadays, but it just turned me off to the game completely.
So I'll take your example and I'll say how it could be a good thing. Metal Gear Solid, which you ended up liking, right? For some people, if they got to play that trial and, like you said, those first 2 hours or whatever, and you wanted to put it away, but then later they hear that it's really good and they want to go back to it, the trial can show like if it's going to be for them right away, right? Like they can say, "Do I want to pay full price for this right now?" And they can play the trial and say, "Nope." But then when they come back and hear other things, maybe the price will be lower, or they'll be able to make a more informed decision of buying it after it's been out a while, and maybe you'll be able to make that decision a little easier than like if you, in your case, buying it that first time and then being like, man, did I waste money on this, and then coming back to it months later
Yeah.
and playing.
The one small counterpoint I'll give to that is the game is nothing like the after that first hour or so. It's almost like it's two completely separate different games. There, it's like I said, there's no action, there's no nothing within that first
Mm-hmm.
period of time, and that's like I said. I'm not against the trials; it can be a great thing because, like I said, you can play it, you can see what it's about. But then I started thinking of that, like examples of that,
Well, is
or
it
games.
guaranteed it has to be the first couple hours, or can they make something specific for the trial? Or maybe they would be able to skip that first hour or two and be like, here's the first actiony part.
They haven't totally said, but part of it with the trial is you're supposed to be able to play the actual game. Like it's not a demo where they can just like cut out a hunk from 3/4 of the way through the game where you're pretty powerful or whatever, and you can do all this great stuff that you eventually have to work up to. It's supposed to be like an actual trial that starts from the beginning of the game. You work your way through, and then but another issue I see is a lot of games now have like say hub worlds and
Mm-hmm.
different things where especially open world games. Some open world games don't open up until 3 or 4 hours in, where there's a lot you have to go through your exposition and everything and your basic stuff, and then you get this open world thing where you can go to it. But it could cause issues of, a situation like that where you're not seeing the game, because once again, you're in this restricted area because that's how the game is meant to be designed and built before you can get out and go into this fantastical open world thing. So, but I like the idea of trials with the exception of it's only available on the highest paid tier of the new PS Plus.
Mm.
The
That's the incentive
15
there.
the $15 or $16 a month tier, which I don't know if it's really worth it for me.
Yeah, I'm probably staying at the same tier I'm on, like just the basic $60 a year, whatever it is.
Yeah, and we still got to wait to hear about what games are going to be available. I know, I guess the Korean ratings board has given ratings for a bunch of Siphon Filter games from like 4 or 5 Siphon Filter games from PS1 and PS2 era, and I think something else, maybe one of their handhelds or something. I used to love Siphon Filter games. I've been hoping and waiting that they would make a new one for years, and it hasn't happened yet. So hopefully, this may cause, depending if there's interest in those, it could cause the developers to do that. Um, but yeah, we still don't know what games are going to be available on these higher two tiers of what they're going to be able to play from their PS1 and 2 and 3 back catalog and things.
It'll be interesting. Keep an eye on that. Well, I guess we can give anything else before we jump out of here.
No, we got Mother's Day coming up, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Make sure you say Happy Mother's Day to your moms out there and your wives and girlfriends and that have kids and take care of them. That's really about it for me.
Like I said, we changed to Back Button Radio. Twitter is now at Back Button Radio. Facebook Back Button Radio. Our link tree. I created a link tree for us. which is link.r/back button radio. So, guys, the good thing about the Switch is that we have a very consistent back button radio for all of our ats and all of our websites. So that is perfect. So you can hit us up there. You can give us any feedback there as well. But hope everyone has a great Mother's Day and a great rest of your, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. Try to get these out like every 2 weeks. And hope everyone has a great time.